welcome to my spoiler talk video of One Battle After Another. Review will be posted simultaneously with this video, so go ahead and check the review out if you haven't seen it already. And go ahead and hit the subscribe button to never miss a video. We have daily film content including movie reviews, movie news, and so much more. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button to never miss a video. Now in this video we are talking about One Battle After Another, and we are going into the spoiler talks, the nitty gritty, and getting really down and gritty with it, or down and nerdy with it, if you will. So, I have seen some reviews of this film, read a couple of reviews, not really a deep dive into it, but I do feel like in my review, it was kind of hard to review this film because as much as I like this film, and as great of a film I think it is, I felt very troubled to find the words to talk about this film without actually spoiling anything, because I think it's such an intertwining plot. And there's so much that's misconceived in the trailers of what this film is actually about. And that actually took me some time really, thinking and pondering on this film to really get at what was Paul Thomas Anderson trying to say with his latest feature. Now, the film, if you haven't already know, is about a revolutionary group who essentially, if this spoilers talks, we're going to break it down. The first part of the film, the first 20, 30 minutes of the movie, of this almost 3-hour film, is the origins of the French 75. And when I say the origins, it's really not the origins of their organization. It's more or less the ladder of their organization in them being rebels and fighting for the revolution and being vigilantes and going through and doing, their revolution and partaking and trying to start their revolution. Now, at this point, DiCaprio's character, Bob, is with Chase and Finney's character's mother, and they are very much together, and, he's a bomb expert. He's very much an active member, and even later on in the film, they call him a strategic and legendary member of the French 75, and he's highly regarded as like a war hero in their eyes. Now, the film itself, though, it opens up with, again, them, doing their revolution and fighting their good fight. Now, we meet Lockjaw, Sean Penn's character, rather early on in the film, and it's not what you would expect. He's not a police officer. He's military police, technically. And they go and they're freeing a bunch of people from a detention camp, I guess you want to call it. So they're trying to free everybody who was detained from crossing the border. The introduction between him and Perfilia, which is the mother of Willia, who is the daughter in which is played by Infinity Chase, who's one of the main characters in the film. They have this moment where, she breaks into, they break into the facility and she has him at gunpoint, takes his hat, takes his sidearm, and there's this sexual tension, not necessarily between them, but she makes him get hard before getting on his knees and then walking out. Well, first she handcuffs him, then walks him out and kind of embarrasses him. And it becomes this almost, I don't want to call it a kink. He then develops a sexual desire for her in a really weird kind of way. Like, after they get away, you have in the trailer where he says, I'll be seeing you soon. She goes, "Not if I see you first," which is very much his character is telling her, he's going to say, but not in the way like, I'm going to capture you. He was fixated with her. So he has this really weird fixation with her from early on in the film. And then as the film goes on with the next few minutes, because again, this first section of the film is pretty much a good 20 or 30 minutes at the beginning of the film, which is kind of where we introduce everything and we kind of get the story started with the origins. Now, with that being said, he gets fixated with her. He starts following her and watching her. And again, he's military police. He's a high-ranking military officer, so he does have surveillance skills and training in surveillance and things of that nature. So he's good at what he does, but what he uses his skill set for in this film is purely for his own personal pleasures. And you have him spying on her and even watching them, blow up buildings and hold people hostage, and he does nothing but just check her out in a very sexual way. And it gets to the point where he actually finds them planting a bomb, and he tells her that if she wants to keep doing what she's doing, she'll be at this hotel at like 8 o'clock or something, or 9 o'clock, whatever it was, the time was. And he says, "I don't care what buildings you blow up or what you do, I just want my gun and my hat back." And she meets him at the hotel later that night, and it turns sexual because that was his thing. Like, he had a thing for her. And, as it goes on, they eventually do get caught within a few minutes, and he then goes to her hospital bed because she got roughed up a little bit and being captured, and tells her that she's going to prison for life or 20 or 30 years unless she had a friend in high places. And then he pretty much gets her out, but she has to rat on the French 75 and give everybody up, names, addresses, everything. So she ends up ratting. And he thinks, she puts her in a protection program, and he thinks that this is going to develop a romantic relationship with her. She ends up dipping and puts on a note on the door, this pussy doesn't pop for you, and he flips out because the whole reason why he got her out was because he was in love with her, and he had this infatuation with her. So it was very much a selfish act, everything he did. He was not truly an honorable man. Nothing he actually did was honorable or done out of self-righteousness. It was all out of pure pleasure and selfishness. So as the film goes on, it takes place, we jump 16 years. She's on the loop. Everybody gets ratted out. Everybody's on the run. So one thing I kind of want to touch upon here is about, I think this film is going to be another Fight Club where it has a very centralized meaning on what the film is trying to say, but the vast majority of people are going to take it a completely different way and misinterpret the meaning of the film. And this is going to be one of those films where I think people all will debate in years to come on what the actual message behind the film was. Because in this film, and she rats on everybody, which is the first thing she does. She rats on everybody in the French 75. But more importantly than that, right before the robbery that gets her caught, her and Bob's character are talking, and they're at the house, and Willow was just born, and even the mother and I think the grandmother doesn't like him. She says, "You're not good enough for our daughter because she's a true revolutionary, and she comes from a long line of revolutionaries, and you're not one of them, and you're not a true revolutionary." Insinuating that he's not willing to give and sacrifice everything that needs to be sacrificed for the cause. And that's very much what the kind of whole ideology behind revolutionaries are, and people who fight for this higher cause is the entire thing about being part of a revolution is, you're willing to sacrifice everything for your cause. You're willing to live, die, and suffer for your cause. That's the whole kind of thing. Is like the revolutionaries. They're willing to do whatever it takes for the cause. And she even has that conversation with him, and she walks out on him and Willow as a baby, and she says, he's like, "We have a family now. We can't keep doing this." So he cuts out of the revolution the minute Willow's born. Like, he's like, "We have a family now. We have a baby. We have to take care of her. We can't keep doing this. We have to think about our family. We have to put her first." And she's like, "No, you don't understand. You're not a true revolutionary." And she then goes and continues to fight the good fight, in which the next scene they do get caught, abducted, and she rats, which again is a complete contradiction of everything she stands for. She turns on the entire group and the revolution to save herself. So in the scene prior to this, you have her saying that Bob is not a true revolutionary because he's not willing to sacrifice everything for the revolution. He's picking their daughter over the revolution, but she's picking herself over the revolution. She could have easily just went to jail for 30 years. Not easily, but she could have went to jail for 30 years, served her time, and continue to fight the good fight and be a selfless member of the French 75 and continue to let that group fight on for the revolution. She didn't. She ran everybody out, got a bunch of people killed, and ran everybody into hiding. And they pretty much stopped doing what they were doing because everybody had to scatter. So she turned her back on the revolution the minute it had anything to do with herself and her own selfish needs. So that kind of debunks the whole fact that she's a revolutionary or a revolutionist, and she is this person who believes in everything in the cause, is willing to sacrifice everything and anything, because she's not. She's willing to sacrifice her daughter and not have anything to do with her daughter. That just makes her a bad parent. That doesn't make her revolutionary, because as soon as push comes to shove and her own life is on the line, in the sense that she's going to serve life in prison, she rats everybody out and turns on everybody, and then goes into witness protection, and then leaves and goes to Mexico to live out her life. So again, she's not really a It's kind of showing that she doesn't believe in the cause that much because she's not willing to die for the cause or serve life in prison for the cause. Now, as very much so, neither is Bob. I mean, Bob gives everything up for his daughter. And that's very much like he's out of the game because of her. Like, he is a family man now. Like, he has a bigger responsibility. And that's very much, in my opinion, a very more honorable way to go out. And they even kind of touch back on that as the film goes on, because the entire thing is, and we're going to lockjaw on too, because again, no character in this movie is flawless, and no character is truly as self-righteous as any of them claim to be. Because you have a couple characters who seem like they might kind of be, but again, once you really think about the situation, they're not self-righteous. They're just, they are realistic in what was happening. Prime example I'm speaking of, one of the people in the French 75 who was the person who gave everybody their fake IDs when it was time to scatter, he gets picked up, and he's in a shipping container tied to a chair with the ground completely covered in not shrink wrap, plastic wrap. So pretty much like you're an episode of Dexter, like you're dead. And Sean Penn's character, Lockjaw, is telling him, you're going to give me the names and addresses of everybody in the French 75 who disappeared. I want names, start talking. And he starts, talking, but he's not actually giving them names. He's making he said he said Fred Flintstone and Velma DeVere or something. I don't know. He's just giving them cartoon names, like just being a straight up smartass. And Lockjaw was like, you know what, you got some balls on you. You're in a shipping container sitting on plastic and you're making jokes. He's like, I don't fear you. I don't fear what's coming. I mean, that's not out of self-righteousness. That's because he's not stupid. He's tied to a chair in a shipping container covered in plastic, like the ground's covered in plastic. The only reason they're putting plastic on the ground is because to blow your brains out, and they don't want to get blood on the shipping container. Then they got to clean it up. It's easier to wrap the plastic up than it is to have to bleach the shipping container. So he already knows he's dead. If he talks, he's dead. If he doesn't talk, he's dead. Like there is no getting out of it. But the second Lockjaw says something to him about his sister and how your sister wouldn't be so brave, he breaks instantly. And again, it's a more honorable way to go, I would say, or a more honorable reason, because it doesn't at all give us any information on his sister as far as was she a part of the revolution? Was she a part of the things he was a part of? Or was she just an innocent bystander who this crooked military cop is more than willing to kill or torture just to get what he wants, which isn't even anything about the French 75. It's about his own self and his own selfish desires, which we're going to cover in a second, which again just shows that even the other side of things is completely corrupt and completely selfish, and everything they do is not for the greater good, or not the greater good, it's a bad phrasing, not for what they believe to be the right thing. They do everything out of their own selfish desires and what they can get out of it. Now, as soon as they mention his sister, he cracks. Again, understandable in a sense, but again, he's not selfish. He's not selfless. He's not above the cause because he has something that he has a weakness, and he's willing to give up everybody to protect that person. So again, it's not that he's selfless. It's not that he's not selfless, because he is to an extent, but he still has a weak spot, and he exploits that, and he breaks, which means he does not take the revolution over everything else. And then, of course, you have Dessandra's character, I believe her name was, Dessandra, who helps Willow escape when they find out that everybody's on their way to get them. And you have this moment where you think, okay, she's selfless, she's for the battle, so she's for the greater good. She's for the battle, she's for the greater good. She's going to do whatever it takes to get Willow to safety and do what it takes. Lockjaw finds her and finds them, and push comes to shove. When he threatens her, guess what? She breaks. Now, it's not even that he threatens her so much. He straight up tells her, you're dead either way. But the kid has a chance to live if you tell me where Bob is or where the father is. So you have this thing, again, where she does it not necessarily out of self-righteousness. Well, I guess that kind of would be a little different, maybe. because she does give up Bob in sight of his daughter. But at the same time, is it really selflessness? I mean, at this point, okay, now I'm starting to talk myself out of the situation a little bit. But at this point, I feel like everybody turns on everybody and nobody has this selflessness or this thought of the greater cause, because even if she tells him where Bob's at, most likely he's going to kill the daughter anyway because he already has her. She's a witness. She can't leave witnesses. And she knows better than that. But again, she gives in, which is kind of part of the thing where it's like nobody stands their ground in this movie, which I'm not saying that we're not putting in impossible situations. I just feel like you're kind of showing that nobody is as self-righteous and as selfless as this would tell us to believe. Now, even Sean Penn's character, Lachaw's character, I really want to talk about, is the trailers make him seem to be this, stand-up guy who's fighting the good fight. He really is a POS. Like, his entire motives for tracking them was purely selfish. It's because he wanted Perphilia, and that's why he tracked the French 75, and he did all that. Like, he even let them blow up shit just because he wanted her. That's all he wanted. He was obsessed with her, and come to find out, he was up for a invite to this very secretive Merry Christmas Club or something like that. It was indicating it was a racist, like, elitist group that handpicks their members, and it's about the ultimate power. And and that's where the whole thing comes out, is that he starts to track Willa down and the French 75 down because he needs to eliminate the fact that that's his daughter. And that's where this entire story really plays out, is that he's up for this invitation to this very secretive club that gets you wherever you want, whenever you want it, and you're like untouchable, unbelievable wealth and anything you could possibly desire if you're part of this group. And to become a member, he needs to make sure everything is wiped clean and there's no trace in which could lead him into having a child of mixed race. And that's what this entire film, pretty much the premise of it, kind of digs down into, because that's the whole plot of the movie. Like, everything happens because of that. If it wasn't because of that, he would never went out to Willa, never went out to the French 75. He uses his power of the military and the reasoning to track down the French 75 organization to eliminate them, when really he's just trying to eliminate Willa. Well, first, he's not. He's POS. He makes sure that she is his daughter and does a DNA test first before then having her killed or set her up to be killed, because there can be no evidence of her existence, because then he won't be eligible for the the Santa Claus Club and the Merry Christmas Club, whatever it's called. He won't be eligible for that if she's found out about, and she's indeed his child, because the mother, when in witness protection, openly said that she was pregnant with his kid. So again, that was a record in which they actually did find that and question about it. He makes up everything and comes to this bizarre ass story, because at the end of the day, he actually did try to kill her, have her killed, but the guy in which he usually hires for his hits said he doesn't do kids. He won't kill kids, but originally going to take her to this place where they will kill kids. Wait, I'll pay your whole fee just to drop her off there and walk away. And he gets in the car and he's getting ready to drive off, and then his conscience gets it. So this hitman is probably one of the most self-righteous people in the movie. Like, the hitman, the person who is supposed to be the scum, who kills people for money, who will whack people and take people out for cash, is your most honorable person in this movie. Because he doesn't kill kids, he sticks by it, but he's like, okay, I'll drive her there. And you can tell he doesn't really want to do it either. He's kind of conflicted about driving her, but he does it, I think, because he doesn't want to make an enemy of Lockjaw because of the power in which he was already very powerful, but he's become even more powerful once he gets into this secret society. But you have this moment where he's just sitting there, and he's just like, I can't go through with it. He actually sacrifices himself to take out all these mercenaries and guns for hire in order to save her, which is the most self-righteous moment of the movie. The only person who actually sticks to their morals at the end of the day and actually makes the ultimate sacrifice for their morals, even though their morals are not that great to begin with, because he's a hitman, is the hitman. Like, he's the most honorable person in this movie. He's the only person who, at the end of the day, when the time comes down to it, he sticks to his morals, and he puts his life, and he gives his life to stick to his principles. He's the most honorable person in this movie. But, again, it's like I said, it's a 3-hour film. There's a lot more going on there. But everybody in the sense that in the French 75 pretty much turn on themselves or turn on everyone else, and they don't really make the ultimate sacrifice for the cause. You have the one person while they're robbing the bank takes their mask off and says, I'm with the French 75, this money buys our ammo, blah, 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 and is bragging about their organization. But the minute things get shaky, she runs. Like, there is no selflessness about it. Like, she eventually, I think, gets killed because she ran. But, actually, hold on. Actually, cut that. So yeah, I think the most honorable character in this film is the hitman. He's the most, who sticks to his morals the entire time. And then you have the racist people in the secret organization who, after they figure out Lockjaw was not someone of their taste, they plan to have him killed. They fail. And they bring him in for questioning, and he claims that he was raped by her, reverse raped by her, and drugged. He then fathered the child. And they're like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. And as you can tell, it's the most bizarre, dumb shit you ever heard, just the way the scene plays out. And they pretend to give him an office and, invite him into the club, only then to kill him with some type of gas. They leak into the office, and then they dispose of his body. So you could say that in their own twisted way, they stick to their morals, even though their morals are completely god-awful and hard and horrible. But they stick to. Yeah, they're the only people who are actually sticking to their beliefs through the entire movie is the hitman and the ultra racist, secret organization of people, and that's like your two people who are actually who stick by their cause the entire movie. Everybody else flakes. And I think the ending where Willa is then now listening to the scanner or something, or some type of radio service, and she's going there 3 hours away to be part of a protest, again, kind of shows that, it's about, because the mother left her a note saying to make the world a better place and all this other bullshit. And it kind of seems like she's falling in that same trap. And it feels like, upon when you leave the theater, it looks like it's showing this message that, that she's following in her parents' footsteps. She's going to be a revolutionary. She's going to fight the good fight and try to change the world. But at no point were they, in any way, shape, or form, really going to make the ultimate sacrifice for the cause, which kind of makes it seem like she's knowing all this information, that the mother ratted to save her own skin, and that everybody turned when everybody else, when push came to shove, they didn't stand by the revolution, they gave in. Bob's the only one who, again, I would argue, did not turn on the revolution. He just walked away, which isn't as dishonorable, I wouldn't say. I give him some credit because, yes, when Willow was born, he walked away and said, okay, this is our priority now. This is our family. We had to put her first, which is an honorable thing to do. I mean, even though after everything happens, he gets completely, paranoid and, strung out on drugs and alcohol, so he's not really all there anyway. But the intent was good. The original intent was good. Everything he does is for his daughter. So he does have some backbone or some sense of character redemption, because everything he does is for his daughter. So it's like he is selfless, and he doesn't ever turn on the revolution. He just doesn't continue to fight. So it's like he retired. He never turned his back on them. He never ratted them out. He never set them up to fail. He never went against them. He just stopped participating in the battles. So I feel like his character isn't completely a wash, but I feel like every other character in this movie is a wash. But even then, so he's not a complete wash, but he's even, like I said, the grandmother and grandparent or great-grandmother, whatever she was, said to him that he's not a true revolutionary, that he doesn't stand up or doesn't stand tall next to their daughter, and someone who's a true revolutionary and one who gives everything for the fight. So I feel like this movie, as great as it was, I think there's a lot to depict, and I'm still conflicted on everything with this movie, as far as, we kind of got that everybody turns on everybody else, and there is no real selflessness or self-righteousness to any of these characters, with the exception of the hitman. Like, he is the one who sticks by his morals, even as twisted as they are, and makes the ultimate sacrifice for that. He even dies for his moral compass. Whereas, yes, the one guy and part of the Santa Claus Club does die, or he's killed in the line of action, but he doesn't put himself in a situation where he would have been killed. It's like the situation was like kind of like he just got surprise attacked, or he didn't have, like, I don't know. I feel like I don't think his action was as selfless or as self-righteous as the hitman's, or even as Bob, not turning on the revolutionary or the revolution, or turning on the French 75, as much as he just walked away and retired from that to raise his daughter. So I'm still kind of conflicted on that, although I do think this movie is great. I feel like there's definitely a misconception of these characters, and the entire story is just so much to unwind and unravel that I feel like it's definitely going to be one of those films like Fight Club, where it's going to have two various different meanings, or it's going to have, not as two different meanings, two very different outcomes on how people see this film, or maybe even more than that. Because again, film is very is all about perspective. Now, I feel like this film from what I took from it is that nobody is truly self-righteous, or there's only a handful of people that are, and they're usually not the people who praise themselves on their self-righteousness. So that's kind of what I took from it. And like I said, it was a great film. It really, for a 3-hour film, it was very lean, and there was no fat on there at all. Like, everything just felt so well paced and smooth. Like, by all means, this was not a rant to say I just like this movie. This is just me kind of talking in spoilers and just kind of saying that how, like, all these characters, again, just kind of laying out the characters and trying to do a deeper dive into it. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. Again, you might disagree with my thoughts on how I depict the storyline. And again, I'm open for it, because through this video, me talking, I actually kind of was jumping back and forth on some things, because I was like, well, maybe that does make sense. And I was kind of going back and forth. Again, because this is such a well-written film, and there's so much there to depictate and to discuss, that there's so much that could be, and there's just a lot there. So I'm really excited to hear your guys' thoughts. So comment below, let me know what your thoughts are. Let's start a conversation.